Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all doing very well today. It's Wednesday, February 15th, and markets yesterday were pretty tumultuous, to say the least. We were up a significant amount, and then we were down a significant amount, and then we ended the day like almost flat. So, very weird day. As you can see by the title, though, maybe one of the many headlines for today is Reddit potentially IPOing. They've committed to doing so, or at least said they might do so in the second half of this year. But Reddit is a fairly small company compared to all the other interesting ones we have to talk about today. So let's not take up too much time with Reddit and get right into it. I've invited a couple people up, but if you would like to come up and speak, just raise your hand and we'll bring you up. So without further ado, let's kick it off. Welcome back, guys. What you got? Oh, and I'll make sure to get the nice cool jazz tunes going in the background.
Yeah, we can't start off with that smooth without the smooth jazz soundings of opinion is unpopular, correct?
Oh, correct.
Oh, and then as for Todd's astrology, we got a bearish trajectory today, but we got a trickster moon, so it might turn out the other way around. I wouldn't be so sure that today is going to be a red day exactly. So it's legit a coin flip today with Todd's astrology.
I agree with that, only the inverse of that. Since around midnight last night, Bitcoin has been on a tear, which I've been using it as a leading indicator for the SPY. But as of 8 o'clock this morning, it's done a turnaround. It looks like it's heading back down a little bit, so I'm going to keep an eye on that and see how it goes. So according to Bitcoin, it's going up and then down, and then Tart's astrology, I guess, is going down and then up. So we'll see what happens.
And then this Reddit talk, are they seriously talking about IPOing when there's this many problems with the Reddit talks? Yesterday I was having some serious issues getting into the Reddit talks. I was having a loading screen error and all sorts of other BS.
Well, as we've seen with many great companies such as Nikola, you don't necessarily need a great product to IPO and be worth many billions of dollars. This is not a dig at Nikola, by the way. I'm sure their gravity-powered vehicles are of superior quality to anything else that's on the market. For those who are not familiar, Nikola, a company trying to compete with the likes of Tesla, was showing off one of their long 18-wheeler trucks. And so they did this incredible demo video and showing it, quote unquote, self-driving. But it turns out it was pretty much just, was it moving by gravity or what was going on with someone?
They rolled it down a hill in the desert, and then they filmed it in such a way to make it look like it was driving on flat ground, but it didn't even have an engine in it. I think that guy's still under investigation, actually. Sort of a Liz Holmes type, Elizabeth Holmes style. Fair enough.
You know what? Lucid should actually sue them for copyright infringement because they own the rights to Gravity. That's right. The Gravity is going to be officially pre-ordering in 2023. Sometime this year, we will be shipping out the Gravity, hopefully.
On the topic of electric vehicles, Ford announced that they're suspending production and delivery of their Lightning F-150 because of concerns with their battery safety. So keep an eye on Ford stock. It might do some moves.
Will do. Thanks for the insight. Anyone else playing electric vehicles? Oh, Hotel go ahead.
I have Tesla calls. I unfortunately got them when it was like around 202 and then rode it all the way down to 190. And then it just yesterday, it was kind of predictable that it was going to go down right before the CPI, and then the market seems to not really care about any data, so it went shooting up around 7%, and then 2% more in after hours today. So it's been seeming very strong, even though the general market hasn't been quite on the same level.
Is anyone looking at Stellantis for their EV? I've noticed they've started doing a lot of advertising.
Yeah, I'm long Stellantis, and I have calls on them as well. Leaps dated for 124.
And there was also today an announcement from the EU that is banned to sell combustion engines from 2035. So no longer the country is making the decision, you know, it's EU. So
Hello,
So
everyone.
mine are. Oh, go ahead.
Could I like speak now, or should I wait a little bit longer?
You have the floor.
All right, thank you. So guys, like yesterday, I think Palantir, it's a data science, big data kind of company, and they announced their first earnings in about, I don't know how many years. And I bought yesterday, and it's already up by 7.5%. So
So
you
they
guys,
had their first positive earnings in a
yeah,
long time then.
yeah, exactly. So might be worth looking into because big data is going, it's not going to go away anytime soon.
How do you guys generally handle getting out of options like in time for the expiration? Mine is expiring 2/17. Do you think like you need to get out like 2 days before? Or kind of what's the balance on that?
Are you at a loss?
Still slightly at a loss, yeah.
Well,
The
the closer you
rapidest-
get to the expert, yeah.
Yeah, the rapidest like the theta decay accelerates quickly, and at the last few days, it's almost an exponential curve. It's like an asymptote approaching that zero value, right? So these next 2 days, it'll lose quite a large percentage of its value just due to theta. So keep that in mind. And if you're not familiar with the theta curves, I recommend giving them a quick Google so that way you can sort of see it. They'll have one that shows like months out, weeks out, and then days out. And like that's a great one to look at and to just commit to memory.
Great question. I had that same question.
I should also point out the theta curves are different for each ticker. So also being able to calculate the curve as time passes so you can get a sense of who decays faster will also help.
So is theta, is it like a significant percentage of the like if the contract's 555, is that like a significant percentage of that amount?
The context matters. So if Vega is high, it's possible that your theta slope or the derivative of theta is much higher. And so that's why you need to model your theta curve based on basically taking the theta for multiple expirations for the same strike on the same security and just plotting that out. So you can get a sense of what the slope of theta is between, let's say, 30 days to expiration and 60 days to expiration. Or then you can probably try to add the 15-day to expiration if there is one and start to see, well, that's actually a worthwhile exercise. Take all expirations for 5 different stocks, like dramatically different stocks. Get their theta values for the same strike and just plot that on a chart in Excel or something, or Google Sheets, so you can see how the curves differ. The slope of theta is sometimes the steepest at 30 days or maybe 45 days. I think the shortest I've seen was 20 days, 20 days to expiration where the slope of theta was the steepest. And then a more stable stock like, I don't know, what's a boring stock? Coke? Their theta curve, I want to say, was in the 55 to 60-day range, or was steepest in the 55 to 60-day range.
So is there a simple calculator where you can plug in the theta value and understand the amount that's lost every day?
Nope. That's part of what makes options incredibly lucrative. It's very hard to model all these changes in real time across the roughly 1.4 million options contracts that exist.
That's the fun part. Yeah.
I think the corn is
Scott, I think you're in that cornfield again.
But if you figure it out, feel free to come back here and tell us. We'd love to make money off your due diligence.
He's giving us the upvote. I think that means the aliens got him, and we should move on.
Speaking of aliens, ChatGPT predicted today would be a market crash. Not sure if I believe it, per se. I'll give it a 50-50 rating.
Those things are just pretty much nonsense it's spitting out to please people because the people are asking for an answer. It has no actual information to assess these things.
Well, so how do you guys feel about all the AI talk? You know how they said that all of the AI stocks will be booming up. I saw that the SoundHound stock is doing very well right now.
Well, Scald, when he gets back, has a lot of thoughts on AI, especially BBAI, which I think I saw in Bikini, I think in your comment history. So do you want to tell us a little bit about BBAI, Bikini?
I don't remember speaking on BBAI.
Ah, must have been someone else. All right, well.
If you guys can hear me,
the answer.
And it dropped off a cliff. It's pretty good. I had puts on it. So, yeah.
It's up this morning. BBAI is up this morning a little bit. So a lot of movement in those in the past 2 days, depending on news. I think a lot of it is just knee-jerk reaction.
Well, it's only crazy to me because SoundHound they're up 180% in the week.
That is a lot of percent to be up in a week. The question is, do you buy now? Do you buy puts?
Well, they said that. Well, I don't know. This is a rumor. They said all the AI stocks are going to be booming for like the next month because all the big companies, corporate companies, are buying into them.
I wouldn't say they're buying into them, and a lot of the investment in AI companies is public companies investing in private AI companies, and sometimes doing it for acqui-hire, that meaning to hire in bulk the team responsible for building certain types of AI. So you can experience some form of rising tide from public AI companies, but a lot of the upward movement, I think, is because their retail investors don't have access to private markets or secondary markets.
Yeah, on that note, I actually bought Microsoft stocks like a few months ago, and it was looking really bad for a while, and now it's actually up, like for me at least 10% from the time that I bought it. So I think Microsoft is going to continue climbing for a little bit. Might stop at some point, but I'm not sure. It's just the OpenAI chat GPT hype is still driving the stocks up. So when that's over, that would be the time to get out.
I do want to about ChatGPT in particular. There's something called a prompt injection attack, and the basic idea is to get ChatGPT to expose the prompt that is being used to create it. It's similar in principle to something called the SQL injection attack, and if you do a little bit of Googling to understand how that works, you can appreciate how difficult it is to protect the prompt from being exposed. Now that the Sydney model, which is what currently powers ChatGPT on Bing, has been exposed, it's not going to be too long before some sort of competitor or similar is developed by the likes of DuckDuckGo or Google or other secondary search engines like Baidu or Yandex.
Did you see how defensive it was getting when confronted about it?
Of course, and I anticipate more of these types of data breaches, which will tank stocks temporarily. So take, for example, Google's Bard. I expect it'll fail again spectacularly in some way, chopping off $50 to $100 billion market cap. And in anticipation of that, I have very deep out-the-money puts, cash secured puts, just so I can earn a little bit of a return, waiting for those drops due to irrational selling.
When it starts to say some racist stuff.
Well, that's the Facebook, the Meta chatbot, because it's trained on Meta content. And I'm sure if we were to make a chat GPT trained using Reddit comments, we'd have a very, very difficult AI.
I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah. Okay. So, just I want to understand, what do you mean by prompt? Telling you what kind of prompt is.
Okay. So the chat GPT, when you're training using a GPT model, let's say Da Vinci, right? Generally, if you want a chatbot, you have to prompt it or provide a seed phrase. So the prompt could read something like.
Just for your information, I studied computer science, so I know all about the model itself that's actually implemented in ChatGPT. I also read the text.
What part is unclear about the prompt? Have you tried using the Da Vinci 3 model in GPT?
It's just the prompt itself is not really important. It's what's inside the model that's important. So the structure of the model.
What's your question, though? No offense. I thought your question was, what's the prompt? And now you're like, what's your question?
What is so important about the prompt that it will lead people to sell?
The prompt helps the
model. He's telling you that it can get to the weight exposures. How hard is this to understand? Like, you're a computer scientist, right? You should get that. I think that's what Hardy's implying, is that you can get to the actual weight exposure AI model.
Hold up. AMRS, what could you rephrase?
Yeah, so my question is, what is so secretive about the prompt that will make people start selling stuff, right? You said it was a risk, like SQL injection. SQL injection is different.
SQL injection is basically getting data inserted into the SQL query
that
is not intended. Same way for this prompt injection, where you're getting data inserted into a ChatGPT prompt or equivalent large language model prompt that is not intended, which has the consequence of exposing data or allowing control of a server. So revealing the prompt, or using a chat message to reveal the prompt which controls the ChatGPT model is just the first step. Imagine the second step, where they're able to get the prompt to generate code and execute malicious code against itself. Does that help?
Yeah, now I understand what you mean. You mean the prompt that it was used to start the entire model, right? Like the command line that was used to start the model. Right?
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
Okay,
so understand that the fact that it was very easy to, very quick, I should say, not easy, to defeat the prompt or defeat the protections of the prompt implies that there will be some embarrassing data breaches in the near future.
I think that's, I don't know.
So
wildly
does that mean that
speculative.
potentially these companies that use ChatGPT, could that expose them to the data breaches and their private information that they'd like to keep very secret?
Absolutely. But more importantly, because the prompts which power these models or power the outputs of these models becomes public, theoretically it should allow for faster, faster iteration and development in this space. But no doubt that there's an arms race between those who want to exploit these systems for whatever nefarious means and those who intend to try and profit from them. The reality is the trade secrets will not stay secret for long.
Hardy, can you share any reference, like a link to what you're talking about? Because I kind of understand what you're trying to say, but I'm hung up.
Google articles, ChatGPT prompt injection.
Okay, thank you.
Apparently, there was an Amazon memo telling employees not to be sending sensitive data to ChatGPT because ChatGPT was repeating back information that it could have only known from the employees.
And to that point, I've seen people getting laid off or fired, for giving out sensitive information. But I think let's get back to the core here. Please.
Can I ask Hardy a question real quick? Kind of tying in with the other dude. So good morning, y'all. Happy Wednesday. But I'm Hardy. So, I'm pretty new to this options thing. And so, if you had a second, I played a $10 strike call on DBI that expires on the 17th, which is Friday, right? And so I'm down.
Hold on. DBI, Delta Bravo India?
Yes, sir. February 17th. And it was a $10 call, right? And so it's at 10, I guess 18 right now or something like that.
Okay.
So I'm trying to understand. I'm still down like $400. I only think I put like 500. It's giving me a 245 value. So in your best explanation, how would I play this, so to speak? I know I'm at the $10. I'm past the $10, but I'm still showing negative. I know once the market opens, things will change. Can you just give me a?
You've
Go
got
ahead.
hit by theta. So,
Okay, and that's what I didn't understand. So tell me.
So think of theta as the rent you pay to stay long on an option contract.
Okay.
In order for you to profit, the delta, the price option price move because of delta. Delta is the value of the change in value of the option for every dollar move in the underlying stock. So the DBI February 17 $10 calls currently have a delta of 0.65, which implies for every dollar move up in DBI, this particular options contract will gain 65 cents. Now, in addition to delta, you have Vega. Vega is the sensitivity of the option price to its implied volatility. The implied volatility for the February 17 DBI calls are about, let's call it 65%. The actual percentage isn't important. What's important is the change in that percentage. So the Vega in DBI is 0.003, meaning it will gain or lose 0.3 of a cent in value for every percent change in the implied volatility. You with me so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in this case, because you're near the expiration date, theta currently is negative 4.1 cents. So every day you hold the contract, you're losing 4.1 cents. The actual amount will change day to day because the slope of theta changes. But this is a good enough explainer. So when you're buying an option, when you're long an option, not only does the price need to move in your favor, the implied volatility ideally should also increase. And the pace with which the price moves in your favor, plus the implied volatility moving in your favor, has to overcome the cost that you pay because of theta or the passage of time.
Okay, I got it.
So it's not enough to buy an option and have the price move in the direction you want. If you're buying an option, it means you're expecting the price to move farther than the strike price plus the premium, or minus the premium in case of a put, than the market is expecting.
My
Does that
man.
all make sense?
No, it does 1,000%. And in my little theory and all my little fucking formulas and shit, I thought they plugged in right, but I didn't understand this backside. And I appreciate that, my friend. So last question. So if this thing moves, say 11.50, how do I, so with that being said, with the price action moving up, where do I have to be at to really take a gain? Is in regards to the dollar of the per share, I guess.
I don't know what price you entered.
Oh, okay. I entered.
Hypothetically, if you paid $1 for this $10 contract, you need the price before at expiration to be at $11 in order for you to profit.
Got it. That makes plenty of sense. Okay, cool. I appreciate that, brother.
I just wanted to add that you could also add an option to your watch list to actually kind of visualize the patterns without actually trading it. It might be a little bit.
That sounds smart. I've done the whole paper trade thing back before, and I hit on a couple things where I actually wasn't spending the money. So I'm like, fuck it. If I'm gonna do it, I guess I'm gonna learn and teach myself this class. But thank you for that input. I appreciate that.
Well, with the watch list, you can actually look at it in a sense where if you see a big dip, you can buy into the dip. Then it'll rise maybe a little bit, but it's just the way you play it.
No, that's smart. Thank you. I appreciate that. I do have one call option. I did post a couple penny ones in the playbook or whatever down in the chat. I got in Neo yesterday. It was a call option for expiration of 224. Strike price was $10.50. And I got in at the 30-cent cost. It's gone up, but I don't know if it goes back down. You might think that's a good play or not. You know, do your strategy how you do it. And then the one I will mention from the 5 I posted, I like it. Give me 1 second and I'll tell you it. It's going to be SIDU. I got in at 58.4, like at 7:30 this morning. I haven't sold. The other ones I didn't really get into. I'm watching, but they are on the list. And I have about 5 options that's going to expire on Friday that don't look too good. But thanks for listening, guys. I appreciate it. God bless. Be easy.
So for everyone else who's learning options or who are new to options, the fastest way to learn the fastest risk-adjusted way to learn is to find a stock you're willing to buy and then sell what's called a cash secured put. Think of a cash secured put like a limit order where you are being paid to purchase the stock at a specific price in 100 share blocks. And then just watch the price change over day as it relates to the implied volatility and the underlying stock price. And you can get a feel of how the 3 main levers, delta, vega, and theta, move an options contract price.
Yeah, I agree. I learned how to options trade by selling covered calls for like 6 months before I actually did anything besides that.
Harry, quick question about the options. So the deep in the money calls and puts, they don't have lots and lots of theta. Why is that?
The deep in the money puts have lots and lots of, I lost the last part.
So the deep in the money calls and puts, I've seen that they don't have lots of theta decay.
Correct.
Why is that?
So the value from a deep in the money put basically is the strike price minus the stock price minus the strike price, right? So what's a good stock? GameStop? We all know GameStop, right? So if we're looking at GameStop for February 17 expiration, the current price of GameStop is like $19.60. So the $15 strike, which is less than $19 for a call, means that the majority of this option's value is what's called intrinsic value. It's basically the share price minus the strike price. So, because what you could do, and if this opportunity presents, it's considered arbitrage. If the price of the strike price plus the premium is less than the underlying price, then you can buy the option at that premium, exercise the option immediately at that strike price, and then sell the shares at the underlying price. And that's one of the types of arbitrage that I did when I was working on a high frequency desk. And that's what keeps theta low, generally speaking.
So with that, what is the word I'm looking for? So with that strategy, you must be earning like pennies when you do the arbitrage, or is it like?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But because it's arbitrage and because the exposure is measured in milliseconds and sometimes picoseconds, it doesn't really, the risk is very negligible. Of course, when you consider the amount of infrastructure that's put in place and the cost of the personnel to set up the infrastructure to execute these trades as fast as they get executed, it's hard for someone at the retail level to compete. But know that this kind of opportunity, if you spot it, is worth taking.
Gotcha. If nobody have any plays, I just have a question about the CPI report yesterday. We were expecting it to move violently, but it didn't happen. I was just wondering why.
I don't have a good answer for that. I was expecting the CPI to move dramatically, especially because they're using a new calculation. It didn't.
Okay, cool. Thanks, man.
All right, so I did another earnings play, and I went off of KHC earnings. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Kraft Heinz at all, but they had earnings this morning, and that looked pretty good. I have strikes expiring Friday at 40, 42, and 43. I'll be exercising the 40 shares probably at market open just to recoup my entire principal for all of my options. I just want to know if anyone was watching this or at all, if you guys have anything to add about the earnings that came out this morning. And yes, I was the one who did Marriott yesterday, and it looked pretty good, but Coca-Cola busted.
What's your play for it?
I was just an earnings play, so the highest strike that I have is 43. They all expire on Friday. It was based
So you
off
bought
the earnings
calls?
that was reported today.
You bought calls at those strike prices, correct?
Yeah. Sorry.
By the way, we talked about Airbnb yesterday, and that's like up 9% in pre-market.
So
With
Marriott,
KHC, I mean, I don't really see what you're seeing on it. I mean, it's not moving in one direction specifically.
Marriott did better than expected, but by a modest margin, right? 7% better earnings, 10% better revenue. So theoretically, if Wyndham should be doing the same, right? Same for Hilton, same for Intercontinental.
They're
Theoretically.
not all the same hotels, so that's kind of different. I'm not playing the other ones besides Hyatt on Friday. I'll be playing that, but the other ones I'm not, because they don't have really as much in common with Marriott, especially in Intercontinental. But today, what I'm really concerned about is KHC. Now that KHC never really has pre-market movement, it's not really one of the bigger ones, so it doesn't. Just like Marriott didn't yesterday, and then it kind of exploded throughout the day. But they did report earnings this morning. They did beat on revenue and EPS, as well as retail sales jumping this morning. So I was just wondering if anybody was also looking at that at all, and if so, what would you think about? Should I ride out the 43 strike until Friday, or just wait and see what it looks like at 10 o'clock or whatever?
Well, not knowing anything about the contracts and that for that play, due to the conversations we've had earlier today, talked about the theta and that you're probably better off watching the stock and see if there's a big jump. And once it kind of cools off, you might want to look at, or start pulling off, you might want to look at exiting those positions. I wouldn't hold them until Friday, because there's, just like it's going up, it might keep going up, but you might wind up losing more value from theta than you will from the stock going up.
Yeah, and I did post a link in the chat. Hardy Option Talks. I did post a link in there because he talks a lot about this already. And if you go to his profile, he has a lot of great talks on options. I would almost say he's an encyclopedia of options. At the end of the day, maybe a god of options, if we could argue that. But yeah,
don't go that far. There are plenty of people better than I am at options.
Let's go demigod. And Hardy, your mic's maybe like at 80%. You're almost there, but just a heads up.
We'll go
We are
pre-god.
all gods. We are all gods. Yes, sir.
Quite the pantheon.
You're welcome. I'll send you over the invoice for that.
And I may have misspoke the other morning, Hardy, real quick. You may want to try 2 5-ounce bottles first. I hope your kid didn't get sick with 3/4.
Jeez.
He doesn't take 5 ounces at a time yet. 3.5 to 4.
I know, but if he's still fussy, it's the next step. Anyhow.
No financial or medical advice here.
Yeah. So Hardy, or anybody, are we looking at ATVI as something that's going to pump up, or are we looking for downsies on that? What are we thinking? ATVI.
Talking about ahead of earnings, they already dumped a modest amount. Keep in mind, ATVI is going to be acquired by Microsoft at some point, unless there's a major change in the deal. So let's look at their option chain. Hold on a second, because someone in Confused Money had an interesting strategy. The acquisition price from Microsoft, I believe, was $89 or maybe $90 a share. So
I think it's at 95.
It's 95.
But it hasn't happened yet.
correct. So if you can, right now, the $100 strike for ATVI is selling for a very, very modest premium. So if we're looking at the Jan 2024, let's see, $100 is currently selling for 5 cents, or last sold at 98 cents. So theoretically, if the deal falls through, the artificial ceiling, which is being kept there because of Microsoft's acquisition price, will suddenly disappear. And what was once 98 cents by January may go up significantly because now it's possible for ATVI to hit $100 a share. So a lot of this requires studying something called the vol surface or the volatility surface, just to see how deep that waterfall is, and then how much you can stand to gain when the vol surface comes back to a more normal shape.
I wasn't watching the option chain, but there was news over the weekend, this Monday, that came out about how the Brits really don't have a leg to stand on. Now, again, this hasn't been fully vetted in court yet, but a legal eagle came out saying, like, they've got nothing. Stock price went up maybe 0.5%. I was curious, but I know you probably can't look at historical options, but it doesn't seem like it moved that much. Like, people are still waiting with bated breath, is my point from the overall.
It's basically been pegged where it is. I used to own equity. I'm in it in some options, some far dated out 90 to 95 vertical spreads. I think it will go through. I do think that the other thing to look at is if you look at the price chart of ATVI versus like Take-Two, EA, Ubisoft, for comparisons on how they have fared over the last 12 months. As you know, you can basically see that Activision's basically been in a kind of tight range because it's all pegged to the Microsoft acquisition. If you are going to play it, I think it's worth looking at what's the downside risk, which is how much loss, if they were just trading in line with EA and Take-Two, they would have taken that they haven't. And then, you have to back out. I think it's like a $2 billion breakup fee. There's a $2 billion kicker that Microsoft will pay if the deal falls through. But I think like the Call of Duty numbers that came out in earnings this most recent quarter bolstered that downside case that even if the deal fell through, it's at a pretty competitive price. So, I mean, it's going to basically trade sideways until there's actual significant executive movement out of the EU, UK.
It's also interesting.
I want to let No Average know you can look at options that you're not anymore. Just put them in your watch list. But what I'm looking at right now is NVIDIA. So I do have an options that I was watching. Exactly 1 month ago, this NVIDIA 225 call was $48, and now it's currently trading at $1,333. So that's just something to watch with NVIDIA.
It's also interesting, as you guys were talking about Antivision. There's a couple of articles about Buffett dropping his stake. Take it as you will.
Yeah, the quarterly filings that came out. Yeah, he also sold like most of his Taiwan semi too. So, and that's not him. That's his newer managers. But it's old news when those come out. But that's my opinion. It's usually at least a month and a half old when they come out. So, but it does move the stocks. It really does when they come out, which is still funny.
I just wanted to make a quick announcement. If you haven't joined our Discord, you can still join. That's correct. Discord, it's the third link in Opinion's comment here on Wall Street Bets. Check it out. It's our Discord. We have casinos. We have analysts. We have wishful analysts. We have pump and dumpers. We have movie times, we have game nights, and much, much more. Check it out. Discord. Join today. You won't be sad, and you won't regret that decision. So click on that link. Install Discord. If you don't know how to use Discord, it
Where's
doesn't
the
matter.
link?
Just install it. It's
You'll have more fun than your wife's boyfriend.
exactly.
Where's the link?
The link is right. If you go to the comment section, you'll see opinion is unpopular. You'll see his Reddit IPO Fed Watch tool, and then Discord is the third link. Click that, and you'll be in.
You had me at anal.
Speaking of Reddit IPO, are they going to try to seek the same valuation that they were last time?
Time will tell if they look for the same valuation. I don't think that information is out there yet.
You're going to have so many shares with your karma opinion. I'm so jealous.
I don't think that's how it works.
Are we going to get paid for that? I feel like we should. It's like an influencer, right? You'll get like 50 cents per 1,000 karma. The only one here who'll be rich will be opinion.
But seriously, you guys are all going to buy it when it goes out. I know it. We all are. It'll become a meme stock.
It'll probably become a meme stock, yeah.
I mean, it has to.
Depends on how much the venture capitalists will be able to dump and dilute as a result of the dumping.
There's definitely ad revenue on Reddit. That's for sure. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, how much money
Seems
are they
like Reddit
paying
has
all those
always
bots
been
for the
under.
stupid Louis Vuitton NFT ads?
Seems like Reddit has always been undervalued.
I don't think
Yeah,
the
but
spam is potentially material.
But you talk about undervalued. Simple, if you were here, he mentioned that Reddit makes the least amount of money per user of any of the social media companies.
That's
And probably
also-
has some of the biggest influence.
It's also a potential problem. When Reddit goes public, they are beholden to their shareholders, not their users.
Hey Hardy, I wanted to ask you a question about NVIDIA leaps. I am long since 2015. I don't do much options trading, but I'm looking to take a look at NVIDIA down the road as far as leaps, and also wanted to get your thoughts on Target with the retail report coming out today. I think that's another one that's undervalued.
So
Thanks for
looking
your
at
time.
NVIDIA, let's call it January 2024 leaps. So if you were to buy at the money, let's call it 230 strike, that last traded for $48, looks like. So you would need for the price of NVIDIA to go to, what is that, 278 or higher between now and January 2024. If you think that's true and that NVIDIA will go there, buy it. Otherwise, don't.
Well, I just mentioned, like I said, 1 month ago, there was the 225 call for NVIDIA. It was only 1 month out. They went from $48 to $1,300. So I'm just waiting for another dip, and then I'll probably enter the video with maybe $10 on top of the strike price.
Well, a month ago, NVIDIA was at about $200 a share.
Exactly.
So it
And
went
they're
up to
just moving with all the
230.
AIs.
Right, it went up to 230, and the 225 January 2024 call only went up $25. You see where I'm going with this?
Hardy, do you own any shares of NVIDIA?
No,
Can I ask why?
I own options.
Okay.
And do we think some of this recent price action is also the AI craze because of their chips?
Absolutely.
That's what I believe, yeah.
So is that overinflated right now, though? I'm not
I
saying
wouldn't say it's overinflated because NVIDIA still has substantial inventory of GPUs. But now that there's a growing market for that GPU capacity in order to run models like Stable Diffusion or GPT-Neo, uh, there is, I believe that's what caused some of this bullish sentiment from basically start of the year to present.
It certainly didn't hurt.
That's the most plausible thesis I have for now.
If the dollar gets its value from being the petrodollar and we switch to batteries made in China, what happens to the dollar?
Nothing.
The other reason that it gets its value is because the Bretton Woods Agreement means that various countries, even when they're among themselves, like if Japan wants to pay Philippines for a debt, they pay it in US dollars, which doesn't make any sense, but that's the way the world works. So helps support its value. Make sure everybody has to have a stake in the currency.
A large part of that, I think, started during the Lend-Lease program in World War II, where the goods that were produced by the US and sent to Europe had to be paid back in dollars. And so it created a lot of international demand for dollars, which I think still persists today. There will come a time when eventually that demand subsides, but as far as I can tell, this is still a lot of the dollar demand today is still driven by that original agreement in World War II.
And China is trying to break it right now, telling other countries that they can start paying their debts back in yuan. So it's been, I would say, in the talks for the last 15, 20 years, quiet rumbling, but probably not feasible about the dollar losing its reserve status. It's a hard mountain to move. Not saying it's impossible, but I don't think that's how we should look at the market or try to play it.
What do you guys think about Shopify?
I think it could go up or it could go
I
down.
have a call planned on executing this morning, but I know because the price is a little fluctuated, I'm gonna have to readjust my price.
Can we talk about Wish real quick? What is going on with this? I mean, like, I know Citron Research is pumping Wish stock right now. I know the 52-cent options that I joked about are now 84-cent options. I joked about them like a month ago. But like, is there seriously something going on here, or is this all bullshit? I think it's all bullshit.
It's too close to their lowest strike for me to want to play it.
I can't believe Citron's still around. I thought that Andrew left, called it a day.
Yeah, but he couldn't make money at his day job, so he went back.
He is such a jerk off. I was so upset with him. Like I told you before, Hardy, I've been long NVIDIA since 2015, so I've seen it all with his, Citron shorting it 3 times with the crypto cycle. He was like, and this is before the GameStop, before Reddit even existed, but that was like public enemy number 1 for me.
I hear you.
I have a question on the possible play. I'm sorry. EU just banned, formally approved a law to ban the sale of new gas and diesel cars in 2035. Is there any long play or anybody have any thoughts on that?
I mean, that's been it's not news. It's been that for a while, right? They will ban it for 2035, the sale of diesel and ICE cars. Yeah, that's been.
If anything, that just
I don't know if that was old news or new news.
Pivot towards electronic vehicle companies in the near future.
Well, that's already
Companies
priced
like
in.
NIO and Tesla.
That's already priced in. So the expectation is that with the ban on petrol cars in 2035, does that potentially mean, for example, energy exploration stocks will probably suffer? Those who are seeking new wells, right? Or perhaps mechanic shops. I don't know if Meineke is publicly traded or not, but will they suffer because they're no longer dealing with oil changes, or the repairs are now more sophisticated, requiring more skilled labor instead of the usual auto mechanic?
Who makes radiators? Like companies that make some of these components that no longer exist, or some of the systems that no longer exist.
Who
In
manufactures catalytic? Who
Right.
buys
Yeah.
catalytic converters? The stolen ones. They're probably going to go out of business.
I did want to go back to some of our video game companies. I've been looking at Sony for a while. I'm in one of their Reddits, Reddit chats, and everyone's like raving about the PSVS VR2. Um, I'm looking to make a near call. I know they released their PSVR2 on the 22nd of this month. But I don't know how that's gonna affect the market of Sony.
Any thoughts on AMC and Ape? I'm looking at their charts. They look primed to run.
I'm long Ape. It's been looking pretty good recently. Yes, I agree with you. Their vote is coming up in March to convert the Ape shares to AMC shares. So there will be a meeting of the
Right.
equity prices at that time.
So, to what extent
Super
will
long.
the vote be honored? Because there have been votes in the past held by the board using shareholders at AMC, and the wishes of the shareholders were not honored. So, what assurance
Yeah,
do we
they
have
definitely
that
weren't.
Aaron Anderson, or whoever the CEO is, and his board will accept the results of the vote for the Ape conversion?
I don't know. I'm just hoping and wishing. I'm in like 3,200 shares of Ape and like 2,000 shares of AMC. I have been selling on all the green days, but yeah, I'm wishing on a fucking Mr. Popcorn.
Difficult to say, but I might get out of my some of the Ape position before the vote, because my average cost on those is less than $1. So yeah.
My shit's high, like $8, $9. I'm a back in February 2021. So anyway, the chart looks pretty good though. Moving on.
Maybe there could be a chance for a short squeeze, right? Because there could be a squeeze on another stock. I don't know if you guys. It kind of links to the play I wanted to share. So I'm long right now 2,000 shares of Silvergate, the crypto bank that's been beaten down by a lot lately, and I think there's a lot of short interest on it. And with the news that some big hedge funds are invested in it, it's become more investable. So in the long term, I think it can go back to 20. So I'm selling 20 covered calls on that, around 20, 30 dollars.
That's an interesting thesis. Do you feel like, I guess I'm going back to you again, Hardy, that something like this with the GameStop squeeze, something like that phenomenon could ever happen again to that degree?
Absolutely, it can happen again. I mean, look at HKD.
Right. I mean, Wall Street with completely caught with their pants down, though, to that degree.
Only Melvin Capital.
Yeah.
Everyone else may very well have transferred their may very well have what's the term? Have lumped their liabilities onto Melvin Capital and sacrificed them basically to the bankruptcy gods.
Yeah, crazy time. I mean, I give credit to everyone that made money on that trade. I did not take part in that. I was kind of just watching from the sidelines. I'm more of a buy and hold guy. But no, that's interesting to hear, because I certainly allocate, a slice of my portfolio to risk. And just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. So thank you.
Sure.
Guys, I have a question if you would allow me.
Of course, go ahead.
Yeah, so hello, it's my first time here, and it was nice listening to all of you. I have a question of two parts. So I have what is equivalent to $200 I can lose. I don't mind gambling them on stocks, but I'm in the Euro EU and I don't know how to trade options in the US markets because all the companies I am following are US based companies. And if I want to win big, then I have to do options as I understood.
Well, you have to do options and be right when the market completely disagrees with you. And that's where most of the gain porn comes from. That being said, see if you can open an interactive broker's account. I don't know where in the EU you are, but assuming you're Schengen, you should be able to open an account.
Yes, I second that. That's the one I hear the most for.
Yep, IBKR.
Can also do
Do you have
futures.
any recommendation for some interactive brokers?
Yeah, check it out, ibkr.com. So that's I as in igloo, B as in boy, K as in kite, R as in raccoon.com.
If you want leverage, you can do futures as well, which is a little bit less complicated with the expiration dates and the contracts.
Okay, then I have to look that up, both of them. Thank you.
I wanted to comment on the Sony question. If we can jump back to that quick.
Yes, the PSVR2.
Yeah, so I think I've been in Sony. I bought shares after Christmas, thinking there'd be a good run up, and it's been up 25-ish% since then. So I think the PSVR is already priced in there. I think it's going to do really well because they outsold all other VRs when the last PlayStation VR came out. I think long term it's going to be great, but I think if you're looking to make a quick buck, I think that ship has already sailed. I'm also fearful of their like streaming service style numbers aren't looking good. I think they lost subscribers to their premium service the last time I checked. So I would just be careful. I think it's already played out. And it's
Yeah.
kind of stabilized at like $90 for the last like 2 weeks, and I actually sold half my position already.
Oh man, yeah, I've been in for maybe about a month right now. Bought just some shares of it, just to I guess feel out the market. But I'm down maybe 2%, not that much, but out of the 7 shares I have. But I was just expecting maybe like a run like Meta did that one time. They were down quite a bit and jumped up about 20 points. And I was in on that one, but I just figured that Sony would have the same kind of results with the PSVR 2 coming out.
Also, they're more reliant on the PlayStation overall as a company than they ever have been in the past, which is a little scary. I think it's a great business, but I think that it's too much of their overall business at this point. It's a little risky, but whatever.
Yeah, Walkmans were awesome, but yeah, that ship sailed.
Yeah, like looking back at some of the stuff they used to do, I mean, they just don't have that kind of anymore. That
No, they really don't. I mean, all joking aside, I mean, I did have a Walkman to date myself, but yeah, they didn't even have consoles back then, but that's really all they've turned into. And I agree with you, the VR numbers, while they may not be exactly priced in with the recent 20+% gain, I think it's interesting. I don't think Facebook's directly is correlated with the VR headset. They make their money from advertising. But I agree with you. I think the juice is already probably out of that trade.
Market's open, boys. Good luck. And ladies.
Bing.
Did you guys know you could directly short things on Thinkorswim? I recently learned this. I had no idea.
Can I give you a little buy signal on Roblox? It's coming in at a daily time frame. The price is 42.07. Do your own DD, set your own stop loss, but that's RBLX with a buy signal.
Some of you have private messaged me asking where you can learn about options. I highly recommend getting the book Options, Futures, and Other Derivatives by John Hull, 10th edition or later, to reflect regulations that have come out in relatively recent years.
Do they have that on electronic book, or whatever, ebook?
Damn, seems like it's flying. It's up 5%.
I believe there's a PDF floating around somewhere if you Google hard enough.
Thank you, sir.
Isn't there also like the Hall of Options subreddit, which is like dedicated to studying that particular book?
I don't think anyone's active in there.
Oh, I see.
Scald, we're your friends here. You don't have to make a whole subreddit. It's all right, buddy.
Oh, too late for that, buddy. But that one's not mine.
I'm going to cut in with some surprising news. Imperial Petroleum, IMPP, reported profits. Their cash is good, about 1.7 times their market cap. Their actually, it was very good earnings. They just released about 10 minutes ago. I, of course, told you guys I had shares and 50-cent calls. I just bought some 50-cent calls for April as well. Up 5% now since the news, not going crazy. People are looking at analyzing it. They have a call at 11 a.m. It was my lottery ticket, and I just took more lottery on it. So just wanted to cut in with that information. IMPP.
Check out Wire. WIRE. I don't know. It looks nice right now.
I also think
WIRE.
markets are closed, I think, on President's Day. I don't know if that can help out. Or I guess you have to keep in mind your weekend pin risk and adjust your exposure accordingly.
So you probably expect to see more options action for that Friday, if you will, right? More people buying protection for the longer weekend and the like.
Maybe, unlikely, but maybe. I'm probably going to move more to cash over the weekend, just because shit's happened before on long weekends.
All right, so for lunch, should I do, I want to make this burger. Should I do caramelized onions and blue cheese crumbles or just classic American cheese and bacon?
Do the blue cheese with the onions, my friend.
Cheese and
That
bacon.
just sounds good. Throw some bacon on that motherfucker.
Question, not to get personal, but will your wife still kiss you after the blue cheese and onions?
My wife's not kissing me right now because I just had a bacterial resistant sinus infection that I took some pretty potent medicine to get better from. So,
definitely.
So no, but for unrelated reasons.
Cook some garlic with it too. Go all out.
I think he meant our wife. Or our girl. Was it wife's boyfriend?
I didn't know we were a communist here. That's good for it. Oh, does it mean it's our money too?
Hey, Hardy, you got a
Karl
second?
Marx was, I was just going to say Karl Marx was known to be a really bad stock trader. He actually tried to trade stocks once. But anyway, moving on.
Hardy,
That's
check
what
out.
turned a communist, right? Because he was like, shit, I don't have any money. Now it's our money, right?
Tell me what you think about this.
Just shot the ticker.
My bad. Yeah, I'm sorry, ABNB. 133 calls expire on Friday. ABNB.
33 calls?
Yep, expire on Friday.
Does that mean, well, first of all, Friday, okay, so that means you expect the price, assuming you buy it for $4, the price needs to be at 137 by Friday. So if you think that's true, or the price will be higher, buy the calls. Otherwise, find another play.
Cool.
And they just released earnings, so I don't know if it's going to move. Yesterday they did, but I don't know if it's going to move much more. So there may not be as much juice in there too. So just think of that before.
Right. Just trying to play around with my little brain and see how I look at things. I'm gonna do a lot of DD today. me and Pinky, and we're gonna take over the world tomorrow. I appreciate the insight, my boys. Have a blessed day, y'all.
You too.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's too bad Wall Street Bets didn't exist in the 1800s. Maybe we just would have got lost porn from Karl Marx instead of like a multi-hundred-page manifesto. Just went a little bit overboard. He did basically YOLO all his money in the stock market. That's why he became a communist. That's my backup plan as well. I'm going to add that to my backup plan.
Well, that's scary. But I was gonna say B, maybe we would have made him worse though, just to play devil's advocate. I mean, think of what could have happened.
Can I ask you guys about new NU?
What question did you have about new?
Well, new has been moving up in the last month. I was 50% in the beginning. I bought down, and now I'm even today. So I'm just looking at the news. It looks like it's should be moving some more. I'm just wondering what your ideas on that would be. New holdings.
Well, they already announced earnings, right? So what next catalyst will cause the price to change?
So that earnings is the catalyst. Okay.
Earnings happened, so that's now in the past.
Thank you so much.
Silvergate looks like it's taking a dump.
Let's see, we have Milmat. Is there something you wanted to share with us?
There was, and then I totally forgot what I wanted to say. So I'll think about it.
Cool. Gotta go get ready for my day. Fun, everybody.
Have a good one, Hardy. Oh, he's gone. He's quick.
These are the minutes where everyone's just checking their portfolio, seeing what, getting caught up.
I know my phone glitched out. I was expecting like a full bore like argument when I got back. There's no one talking.
Oh wait, so that wasn't just me. So wait, what happened to you?
I was literally scrolling down through the screen and it just kicked me out. It does that periodically. I wouldn't say daily, but a few times a week.
Oh, beautiful. Glad to see Reddit
Yeah.
supporting the talk community. Yeah, that something similar happened to me where it's just like frozen. Comment below if you're also seeing similar issues with the Reddit Talk app. I'm curious to see what other challenges people are experiencing because I'm surprised that
I didn't have to stalk you this morning. It was on just the hot post. It was just on the post. So that was a change from yesterday. I hadn't seen that.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's
So
I do usually it gets sticky right away when it gets posted. So we'll see. Just searching through the comments to see what other issues people are having.
Whenever I get called up, it always freezes. It's like, so and so wants you to talk, you hit accept, and it like freezes. I lose the conversation, and I was going to talk about the Sony thing when the person first asked, and by the time I got back in, we had moved on to Ape, I think, again.
Well, let's talk about it now then. What did you have to say about Sony?
No, I already did. I jumped back in and did talk about it, but it was it's happened to me before too, and I don't know. It's the Reddit app, the official app on my iPhone, so it's weird.
Hey, if anybody wants to feel better about themselves, I have a nerd wallet. I sold a call for $12.50, and that thing is skyrocketing. So just in case you wanted to feel better about yourself.
Was it covered?
Yeah, it's a covered call. If it gets assigned, I mean, I'm still making profit, but not as much as I would because I'm in for like 12.14, and yeah, now it's at like almost $16. So fun stuff.
But you still made you made a little money, right? Or no?
I didn't lose it, so it hasn't been assigned yet, but it will. I guarantee it. So it's gonna be great. Yeah.
I didn't expect Roblox to do so well.
What was that about Roblox?
I didn't think they'd do so well for their earnings. About 23% right now.
Yeah, and I haven't read through, but a lot of times when you see a lot of unfortunately, my daughter was a bag holder in that stock for a while. Not by her choice, my bad decisions, but we're out of it now. A lot of times when you see that big hop, it's because their daily users or their monthly users increase or stay on par. That's what they like to see. So I'm going to use my guesstimation, my trust me, bro. Obviously, it was a good quarter. They look at the stock price, right?
I just don't get the game. Like I see my nieces play it, and I'm just like, this looks stupid. But they're on it
it's boring
nonstop.
as hell. But we've had a conversation on here about how it's kind of like that community. You've got your online friends, if you will, pre-metaverse or part of the metaverse. I hate that. It's like a bad word. Tastes bad saying it, but yeah, it's not my deal either.
Should I invite this person up who oh, never mind. They left. They were aggressively like, hey, add me up, and they had no other comment history. Do we take a YOLO on them?
I'll shut them down quickly if they're
all right, let's see it. Welcome, YOLO is forever. What brings you up here? There was another one too, but I think they disappeared too quickly.
Yeah, I'm like bots, right?
Hey guys, thanks for bringing me in. Can anybody hear me?
We sure can.
Hey, I was just wondering about Roblox. What number do you guys think that the stock should be kind of trading at? It got a good jump, about 24%. at the open. Do you think that's a bit optimistic, or how do you guys look at that?
It looks like it needs to be shorted in about a day or two.
Oh, you know what, guys? Thank you. Thank you for letting me in. I was actually thinking about the same question that the gentleman before me asked. And if I look at it based on the Fibonacci, it's hitting right almost at the resistance level. So, I mean, I'm actually considering just what you said, going in, selling some puts or going short probably tomorrow or so. But I'm gonna watch it today. It's almost up, as you said, 26%. Usually, when a stock hits almost 30% within a day, that's too much. So it's got to retrace back. So I'm just gonna keep an eye on that. But that's a good question.
Hey, it's external. Thanks for inviting me in. I just wanted to just say something about the Roblox. Seeing as though I have kids, Roblox is 60 popularity. Like it's come raging back with like even like the older, um, like more senior teenage kids. Even they're playing Roblox and I have 4 kids and they all play Roblox. Now I hate the animation. I just think it sucks, but they love it.
Yeah. No. Again, same here. I have a teenage daughter, and yeah, it's a huge time suck for them, but it's also, you can tell after school that's how they unwind, and that's fine. Does well in school. Go do you.
My daughter's 4 years old and she plays Roblox on like my phone, and I didn't even know you could do that. Like she showed me something the other day.
You know what's funny?
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say my son, 12-year-old, he does the same thing, and I'm guilty myself, because I keep buying Robux for him to buy stuff online, because that's my reward to him. If he does good in school, I buy him Robux, right? But one thing, I mean, the demand of users, I understand that's based on revenue, but I'm looking at it from a technical perspective. I mean, where a stock jumps so much within a day, it usually have to do a little bit of retracement. I'm not saying that it's dead money, right? I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that if it goes up so high within a day, usually a 30% jump, that's too much for a stock, any stock.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I will say this in regards to Roblox, almost any other company that we all may use or our kids may use in their daily lives, is there is that, interaction, if you will, but it's hard to, sometimes you got to look past your own personal experiences, is my point. And I mean, I've lost money in this.
Average Monkey, I think we're getting a little bit of static, so it's a little bit hard to hear you.
Yeah, I'm muted. It's not me, I think.
Oh, yeah, actually, now you're clear. Huh. But to the other person's point, I mean, whether it goes up 30, 50, 100%, it all depends on why. So if it pumps up on no reason at all, then sure, yeah, I think it's probably worth expecting a retracement. But if they pump up on earnings, there's actually like a change to their fundamentals that is now being reflected in the stock price. So I don't think there's anything particularly unnatural about that.
Thank you. That's a good point, though. I mean, and one thing I do want to say, guys, thank you for this channel. You guys are so educational. This is my second time logging in, and for the past, day or so, I've been just listening to the commentary and the feedback, and I see we all fighting the same cause. So I appreciate you guys being available for all of us here.
No problem. Glad you guys find value in this. It's been going for about 1.5 years, so you've got a solid backlog of stuff to listen to if you're ever curious.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. I want to thank you for inviting me up. It's the first time I'm up here. I just had 2 questions, maybe one for opinion, since he's over in Canada. I'm in Canada as well. I've been looking to trade options, but I don't have the broker to do it. I use CIBC's Investor's Edge. to buy up stocks, and I use Wealthsimple app to buy crypto. Now, my question is, which one would you recommend to start trading options on? And my second question is, I just sold Air Canada stock. I had about 400 shares of Air Canada, which I sold, I think it was on Monday before the CPI report, thinking it was going down, but it actually went up. I sold at 21.99. Right now it's sitting at 22.88, I believe. So I'm kicking my ass for selling. But I thought it was going down since it was a bad CPI report. My question about that stock in particular is, do you guys think I made a mistake selling early, or that eventually is going down with the bad news of CPI going up? I don't know. That's
Did you
all I
make
want.
Did you make money when you sold?
Oh yeah, I bought right after the pandemic hit in 2020, and I bought 12, 15 at 18. So yeah, I did make money on
Do
that.
yourself a favor. You, not just you. Nobody sells the top. Nobody buys the bottom. The only person who does is a liar. That's it. Never look at a trade once you're out and you've made money. All right, and don't sit there being like, "Oh, but I could have made X% more." Something, you'll drive yourself crazy. You'll hold on to things way too long, and you will just make yourself lose money in the future. Constantly looking to get an extra penny. Just take
Call-
your winners and move on.
Call it what it is, Rad. You know what it is. Don't check on your what.
Treat it fine. I guess it's a line now. Treat it like your ex. It was good times. Yeah, they had a blast. You got what you wanted out of it. Now you wipe your hands of it and you're done. You don't need to check her portfolio or her profile later on. It's over.
Man, that's a great analogy. I love that.
Also, I would advise not keeping your crypto on an exchange. Get a wallet like MetaMask and move it on there.
Okay, Wealthsimple is a little bit different than most exchanges because it's actually a regulated arm. But there's also risks that come with self-custody. On the brokerage side, IBKR is pretty good, but I mean, honestly, you can get started with any bank and their trading platform. So Scotiabank has iTrade. I think, I don't know what CIBC has, but if you're already on it, then you just need to get approval, which is very simple. Either you can like call in, or yeah, I think you can call it and they'll give you that if you can't do it online. And then just start there. But yeah, eventually I would move to IBKR. Yeah, so.
Hey, Opinion, thank you for inviting me up. Whoever gave the play out last week on BP, thanks for that very much. And I got to take this call. I'll be right back.
Does he get it? All right, yeah. I love hearing.
Speaking of BP, I've got a potential oil and gas play. I was looking at EQT and Marathon Oil. I was initially thinking short on both because they're both heavy in natural gas and those prices have tanked. But there was a huge award to the CEO in stock for Marathon. So I'm not going to go short there, but looking at EQT, potential short on the options play. Or earnings are...
They're today after their close.
Sorry, after close, yeah. Yeah, I've got a real job at 10, so I got to bounce, but that's my one play for today.
Can we go back to talking about cars?
Oh boy, here we go. I mean, I'm fine with it.
I was going to say, I think that's a useful commentary. Go ahead. What do you think?
Something I've been thinking about for a while, in a play that I've got that is a long long play. But I am short AF on all airline operators. I hate the airport. I hate public transportation. And I think the majority of the public does too. And I think when these cars are driving themselves, which the technology is already there, it's just a matter of legislation allowing it to continue. I think people don't really want to drive cars. I think they want to mess around on their phone and hang out and not pay attention to the road. And I think they hate airplanes. And I think that the future really kind of just is going to be you go to sleep in your car, you wake up in another city, it takes you there. You know, cars won't even really need a driver's seat, passenger seat, none of that. It could really just be a bunch of Sprinter vans with a bed, a gym, workout set, video games, TV, food, whatever. So I'm short as hell on airlines. And back to what you guys were saying about oil changes going away when electric cars take over, things like that. So electric cars still have radiators. They still have heat exchange units. They don't use engine coolant, but they still create, you know, temperature change and cool components in the car.
Do you mind if I chime in? Actually, electric cars do use coolant.
Yeah. So they definitely do. They won't need oil changes, but I manage a fleet of over 40,000 cars, and our customers hate electric cars, hate them because they don't understand it. The general public doesn't really love them yet. They definitely will take over eventually, probably, but they still need tires. They still need everything else. And the one thing that I can say about like Meineke, NTB, Mr. Tire, Firestone, all these other third-party vendors, they overcharge the absolute fuck out of their customers. I'm talking about double, triple, quadruple markup on things, and the customers pay it because the majority of people these days don't know shit about cars. They don't know what it's supposed to cost, and they're walking away with profits, and it's not going to change anytime soon.
So in regards to the airlines, well, driverless cars may be in the future. I mean, people were talking 10 years ago that we would have them right now. We don't. So I keep thinking that that's not going to happen. People don't really want to lose the ability to drive. I think you probably gave half the call anxiety. I don't want to ride in a van and just wake up in another city. That sounds like you get kidnapped. No, I'm just being funny. Anyhow, plus the government we own as a country in the U.S., we own so much of the airlines. We have bailed them out so many times. I just think shorting the airlines is, I wouldn't do it, or at least not for driverless cars. I don't see that direct correlation. And if it is, it's not going to be in the next 5 to 10 years. So, I mean, that you're right. It is a long play, but I would not stay short in the airline because that was my thesis. I think they're doing pretty well.
Yeah, it's super far out there for sure.
Sure.
And I love driving. I will never stop driving cars. But I think there's a generation and an age that doesn't apply to. My buddy got his teenager a brand new Acura, walked him out to the car blindfolded. He took the blindfold off, and he's like, I didn't want this. There's a lot of people that don't get their driver's licenses because they simply don't care about driving. They don't want cars.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far in the weeds here, but yeah, you've been on the roads. It's a little wild, wild west out there nowadays. Would you want to drive if you had been driven around in the last 5 years, let's say? Probably not.
Well, and like, I mean, you know, if Mothers Against Drunk Driving or whatever get up in front of Congress and say, if you pass a rule where, let's say just on the interstates, maybe not on back roads and country roads and whatever, but on the interstates, only cars that are allowed to operate there are self-driving cars, then you will never have another drunk driving accident. None of our kids will ever die in an accident ever again, blah, 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 blah. It's hard to say no to that.
No, I disagree. I would say just because you don't like driving, don't assume everybody else doesn't like driving. I thoroughly enjoy driving. Like my car's a manual transmission. I put a podcast on and I enjoy it.
Oh no, I used to autocross race. I'm a big fan of driving. I'm just saying, if you were younger and you lived in kind of this road rage-ish kind of day, not everyone's gonna love it. Like I love driving. I just don't like driving with y'all.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I own 32 cars. Half of them don't run. ASC Master Tech, iCar certified, platinum, blah blah blah. Everything I do is cars. I love cars. I love driving. But the majority of the public does not agree with me, and you can see that on the roads.
Hey, what kind of car did you autocross?
A couple. I had a Nissan and I also a BMW. And I don't want to talk about makes just so I don't dox. But yeah, it was fun.
Can I jump in here with a play real quick?
Please.
All right. So today, after hours, CF Industries earnings are happening. CF Industries ticks all the boxes that I have for fertilizer play. They are an American company that focuses on nitrogen-based fertilizer, and the reason why I think this is a good play is because nitrogen fertilizer is made with natural gas, which has been at an all-time low. Russia is not exporting their fertilizer to Europe, so the American industries have to do all the heavy lifting. Their immediate rival is cow and chicken manure, which is down at an all-time low because of the avian flu kill-off of 58 million chickens, and we're at the lowest beef cow numbers since 1962. So they should have a whole bunch of demand, should have a bunch of low cost. I'm expecting big uppies.
Hey, could you give me some numbers on how you expect the company to look in the future? For example, revenue growth or maybe a profitability margin on CF?
You can look up the Yahoo article that
Here, I got
talks
it.
about how they've recalculated the earnings in a bullish way for this quarter. They had some numbers in there.
Thanks.
And back to the other comment, your comment about how car prices and places that fix them are way marked up. I wholeheartedly agree. As someone who worked in the business, that is true. Probably the only other retail or service thing that's marked up more are diamonds to gold. There's like 6 or 7 layers. I won't get into all that, but wholeheartedly agree. They rob you hand over fist.
Well, and I mean, in general, people are led to believe that if it's more expensive, it's better. If I show you $100 bottle of wine and I show you a $10 bottle of wine, you assume the $100 bottle of wine is better, but you don't really know. And that's how they play people. And the majority of the public has no idea about this stuff anymore. Back in the day, the 50s, you knew how to do your own oil change. You knew how to do that kind of stuff. It's just not taught anymore, and nobody cares.
Well, and the cars are designed where you're not supposed to be able to. You got to bring it to the dealership or somewhere else. So,
yeah,
or
but
get an EV and never need an oil change again.
Yeah, but you have to replace your battery every 5 years. I had a 2016 Model X, and the battery was on its last leg. Now I don't know if it just wasn't maintained right before I got it, but anyways, the one thing that will replace oil changes is calibrations and sensor alignments. So every single time a car gets wrecked right now, like Nissans, not trying to really talk shit about them, but if you bump into something or your bumper's dirty, it's raining outside, it's covered in bugs, your radar warning and pre-collision alignment warning will come on the dash immediately. And so every single time you do a repair to these cars, could be a side view mirror, could be a taillight. F-150s have radar in the taillight. You have to calibrate the car after you do the repair. And so the more self-driving features come out, the more shops are going to have to be available to do radar and sensor calibrations on these cars instead of oil changes, because the sensors have to be aligned perfectly, or else they will, they could kill you.
We've had people talk some LiDAR plays, and I don't know if it was directly tied to the automotive business, but If you've been listening, that's been a topic before. If there's any investable plays, I'm not in it. Doesn't matter if it's gas or hybrid. You're all going to need radar and lidar, right? No matter what level of driverless driving we have, even if it's just driver assisted like it is now versus the take a nap in the van idea.
Those calibrations that need done, that's not exactly the easiest thing to do. We're already having an issue with technicians being in high demand, and we've had a few guys come out of the local tech school, and they didn't last. I'll just say that. So there's definitely a demand, and it seems like a lot of people are getting out of this. I know a lot of older guys, they're retiring or moving on. It's a tough business. It doesn't pay very well unless you've been in a few years, and it's not easy. So
the service writers make the money, right? And the manager.
I mean, I'm doing all right. I'm making more than the writers right now, but I've been doing this. Oh God.
I always thought the writers making
years?
the most, but again, things have probably changed since I was actively in that business.
It just
I've been in
depends.
tech 14 years now, so I'm doing all right.
Yeah, it just depends on what organization you're with and if you're flat rate or if you're hourly, and then how many hours you get, et cetera. You know, I mean, I've seen some guys that flag 300 hours a week as a painter or as a calibrator at a large body shop that fixes maybe 800 cars a month. And those guys are bringing in 200K, you know, and literally have almost no responsibilities outside of the job. Like they don't take their work home with them. When I was a mechanic, I didn't understand what taking work home with you meant. But as a manager, you definitely are always tied into it. So, but that's not really an investable topic.
Yeah, it'd be really hard to extrapolate. Basically, you're looking at the OEMs, right? You're looking at the manufacturers because they're the ones that make the money. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think he's right. I think manufacturers are going to be the ones that capitalize off of this because I did some work like working on rolling up auto shops, and the problem we were having is doing like a roll up with auto shops is that the mechanics or not only is it hard to find labor, hard to hire mechanics, but they're pretty independent people. So it's hard to make sure that tools don't go missing. It's hard to make sure they don't work on their own cars while they're there. It's just a really tough industry to like roll up because it's hard to manage like top down, and it's really hard to manage remotely. I mean, you can't really manage an auto shop remotely. So I don't think there's any plays here just because mechanic shops are going to stay fragmented and not publicly traded.
Here's an idea. What is the actual requirements to getting listed on the New York Stock Exchange? Like, how big do you have to be to get listed? Like, isn't there? I feel like there's like a sandwich shop in New Jersey that's listed on the stock exchange. I feel like I read that somewhere.
I thought the company had to be worth $1 billion.
No.
No, they're very clear requirements. But so let me just see if I can find them.
Yeah, I can talk about the sandwich shop. That wasn't listed. That was fraud, I think, or not fraud. I don't want to blanketly call it, but it was definitely just a couple guys making some money. Sorry, but they were. It was like worth like 150 million, and it was like a deli shop. It wasn't listed though.
It's one hell of a sandwich.
I heard today Subway's going to sell their chain, get out of the business.
Isn't that a franchise?
I actually do have one play. I'm sure you guys saw that Hertz, Avis, like their earnings this past quarter were good. They beat earnings past like, I don't know, 4 quarters or whatever because they were selling their cars for ridiculous amounts of money. It's not going to keep going. They are upside effing down in these cars. They paid way too much for them throughout COVID, and the cars are depreciating at like a fucking rock right now. Pardon my French. So the next few quarters are not going to be so great. So I'm probably going to go short on them on the next quarter.
What was that company ticker? What was that?
Avis Budget and Hertz. So CAR, CAR, and HTZ. They've been beating earnings for like 4 quarters, but the depreciation on their assets is coming at them hard and fast. Their overhead has more than quadrupled.
How fast do they have to turn over their inventory, or how? Let me ask another way: how long is the shelf life of a car?
So during COVID, they extended it as far as they possibly could. Normally, you wouldn't see a rental car with more than like 30,000 miles, 40,000 miles, something like that. They're out to like 60, 70,000. I can't speak to the Teslas that Hertz has, but I know the regular stuff is all like 60, 70K. And this is knowledge that anybody could notice just going in and renting a car. Like the cars are more beat up now. They're longer mileage, whatever. So, but they're turning them a lot faster in the past couple quarters because the inventory has come back to be available. And that's a whole nother subject about how that all happened. But the next few quarters, they're going to get eaten up by their overhead.
So something to note about the car rental places, over the pandemic, they sold off a lot of their inventory, a lot of it. And so once the pandemic ended, quote unquote, started rolling down and they started opening back up, there was a mad rush by them to purchase inventory because they did not have as many vehicles, which they've been able to do, but just something to consider. I know you say their cars are getting older, but also keep in mind they almost unintentionally wound up doing a fleet overhaul of getting rid of a lot of their vehicles and replacing recently.
Do they lease them?
So a couple of them do. The biggest one does not because they have straight cash and they're privately owned. But a couple of them do lease them and have to turn them back into factory sales at auctions.
So that's where you get people that'll go on dealerships. They'll go and buy 20 used Camrys or whatever like that, but they're all rentals. Which is why it's marked on your Carfax too, because as we all know, the fastest car in the world is a rental car, right? If anyone's seen that Top Gear episode.
And it also played into the used car market taking a big bump. Because once, like I said, after they were done drawing down their inventory, they started going to the car auctions and just bidding up crazy prices because they just needed cars in the lot to rent out. And they weren't as concerned about the pricing. So that's why you saw that, part of the reason why you saw that crazy move in used car prices is a lot of those rental places were like, we just need things to rent out. We don't even care at this point.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say they kind of pumped their own price. It was almost like a pump and dump that they did it themselves.
That was that like Avi's rent a car went up almost more than 500% after the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, at one point, car was down to $5 a share, $3 a share, and it spiked to $300-$400 at one point. I mean, and everybody knows the Hertz bankruptcy thing. It was down to nothing, and now it's back. But there's a whole long story for maybe another day about how the actual supply chain contracts and everything got screwed with the manufacturers and the whole chip thing. It's really more of a myth than they lead you to believe. And there's a reason that Tesla didn't have those problems because Elon didn't make the same mistakes.
Just be careful about shorting the car rental market into the summer because I imagine more people are renting cars in the summer.
And I can see that. There's still, even with the talks of possible recession coming up, the people that can afford to travel aren't necessarily affected as much. So they're still traveling, and there's still some revenge travel, if you will. There are people that are doing it outside of their comfort zone. So I could agree with that and see still a bullish sentiment because of that. General and all travel, not just to rentals.
Yeah, their volume's going to go back up for sure. But when your overhead quadruples and your profit margins sink, it's their earnings have been beat, and the relative amount the stock has gone up from that beat keeps coming down. Investors are just waiting for the other shoe to drop, and when it does, when there's bad news, they're going to rocket these things back down to reality. They're just way too high right now.
And also on shorting them, be careful too, because there's been a lot more car accidents, and whenever someone's waiting for their car in the body shop, they got a rental. So keep an eye on that too. And they're still having issues with parts, so people are in rentals a lot longer. Keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, I mean, once the older cars cycle out of the market, you'll see the overall volume of car accidents go down. Like the systems that a 2023 car has, which is pretty much standard on every single make and model from a Kia to a Tesla, have a lot of crash mitigation features. Now, you still have the 5, 10, 15-year-old cars on the road, and so you're not seeing the full effect of it right now. But inevitably, the collision industry is going to be a dying breed. The amount of wrecks is definitely going to go down when the technology in these cars goes up, and the sale of parts is going to be impacted by that. You'll still have the maintenance side of it, but the collision side of it's going to come down in the next 5, 10 years.
Something interesting Tesla does is they have their own insurance. So based on the types of claims they're getting, they're changing the way they engineer the car to affect both bottom lines.
You know, all I know is I saw that Super Bowl commercial, and if you pull a mannequin in front of a Tesla at the last second, it didn't stop in time. So clearly, very, very dangerous. You know, like they yanked it right in front of that Tesla. It didn't stop. I don't know, man. Kids be jumping in front of cars at the last second.
So puts on mannequins, right?
I mean, the Tesla drove just as well as anybody in LA.
I'm just making a comment on that commercial. I thought that was entertaining. That they were like, if we yoink something in front of this car at the last second, it doesn't dodge.
Yeah,
There was a
I saw
backstory to that they had faked that with a mannequin.
someone paid $7 million to trash talk self-driving. I know they targeted Tesla specifically, but it was mostly, the idea that self-driving is not here and it never will be. I thought that was quite an expensive amount of money to be saying.
So
that.
hear me out on this
Somebody
one.
was worried, huh?
Well, so I was in an insurance company 10, 20 years ago, and not both, but when Tesla came out and the whole idea of the self-driving thing, they were running scared. They really thought we were going to lose like all the income because everything would be solved by now. Literally, we were talking 2020. Like these are like big companies worried about this stuff. So if you follow the money, I don't know for sure, but look at maybe an OEM, look at an insurance company paying for that, saying, "Are you sure?" Because those are other business killers, right? There's other people that have interest in not having self-driving cars.
Puts on ambulance chasers if nobody crashes anymore. The whole industry gone for the law.
Yeah, but also to be fair though, like I think self-driving hasn't really been in the market as soon as everybody expects it to be. So I don't know. I'm not really bullish on self-driving at the moment.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more hurdles to getting to the full, driverless driving.
You got
flying cars by whatever. Just kidding. Go ahead.
I mean, my point to the driverless car thing, though, is the technology is already there. Like, you're not connected to the car anymore. The gas pedal's not connected to a cable. You know, there's a computer and a sensor in between every input you have with the car. The transmission shifter's not connected to the actual linkage to the transmission anymore. It's all sensors. I mean, that there was an actual recall on, I think, Grand Cherokees and Durangos because they figured out somebody had hacked into them through the Wi-Fi, like 4G LTE capability, and drove the car on their cell phone. I mean, you can drive the cars remotely. It's just a matter of time of it being implemented.
You might think it's there, but I live in a northern state, and there is no way any self-driving car is driving on a snowy road. It's just not happening.
Yeah, so the thing with the Cherokee thing, I think that's a valid point. It's like everything is already also like can be controlled from like an ECU or something like that for sure. It's just the perception and all the machine learning that has to go into that stuff is just, it's not really like, there's a lot to do still, I think, to get it into a point where everybody can just use their self-driving cars every day. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I think some of it too is literally like the capacity for the networks, for the energy used in it. It's just not there yet. You're right. The sensors are there, and it could do it on its own. And there's definitely been test trials, and I know they even have the Tesla truck go and do a delivery without a driver, right? So you're right, it is possible, but to do it for all the cars in, let's just say, America, the other background technology is not there yet. So what's the play on that, right?
I mean, I disagree. I think the technology's there. I just think they don't have the car companies themselves aren't collecting enough data quite yet. You know what I mean? Like, you got Tesla's been collecting data for longest. They're the first ahead with self-driving, and they have something that's almost fully autonomous as far as self-driving goes. But, you know, they're in the lead as far as collecting all the data that comes in from other cars around the road, and all the other manufacturers kind of just started that a couple years ago. But all the cars that they make, I agree with what the other gentleman said. Like, all the cars they make at this point are capable of it. They're just waiting for the data and the software to be built. That's it.
Well, that's what
I'm
saying.
I think it'll
You
be
need to still build that out because you can't
right,
have everybody on it. And I know Mercedes-Benz has their Class 3 autonomous, and they're charging half as much as Tesla. So it's not just Tesla that has that level.
Right.
The guy who brought up snowy roads also makes a good point. I don't know if it's about Tesla specifically, but I know several of the companies that have some type of autonomous driving attempt flat out say, like, once it snows, if the lines get covered, their vehicles have no idea where they are on the road.
Yeah, but I would say the amount of people driving in a completely snow-covered road has got to be a pretty small percentage of the grand amount of public, right?
I mean, that's like all of New England, the Midwest, right? You're taking out a lot of major cities.
And to even further the point, let's don't make it just on snow. I have a radar assisted car, and it does very well. It's a Subaru. I've mentioned it before, but I am in more trouble when it rains. Forget snow. I mean, I understand what we're saying about the braking and stopping and turning. That is more difficult. Not seeing the lines, but if you can't see anything with the rain, so how does everyone who gets rain deal with it?
Well, they use different sensors. So I'm sure you've noticed on your Subaru, it's got the two huge cameras up by the mirror, the rearview mirror. It's called like the eyesight or some crap like that.
Correct. And I know that Tesla was looking at using it because just using the sensors didn't seem to be doing as well. So I know that actual video cameras have been shown to do better. Correct.
Yeah, there's different versions of there's 17 different ways to slice the bread. All I'm saying is the cars are capable of it now. I don't know how it's going to unfold. I don't know what the great catalyst is going to be. My guess is it's going to be some sort of social movement to erase drunk driving accidents or some crap like that. But if the government steps in and says that your car has to have these features to be on these roads and whatever, it's just going to skyrocket from there. But we're already capable of it. It's just, how do you put it together?
Yeah, they're kind of doing it incrementally. They put in the adaptive headlights are required in Europe. I don't know if you guys seen those, but they'll the headlight will, if you go around a curve, the headlight will turn around the curve. If there's an oncoming car coming, it'll put a black spot on that car so your high beams aren't in the car's window.
Yeah,
And
that's
these
pretty
features,
standard
so these
now.
incremented features, yeah, now they're required on new cars. And there's going to be a car to car, like a Bluetooth network, so that your car can talk to the other cars. And then, of course, they're probably going to change like the way the roads are set up and signs to work better with all the cars. So it's all going to be standardized, and this is going to happen like incrementally, where the roads.
So here's my
Yeah.
thought, and you
Or
may
how
have
about
to tell
this?
me to take my tinfoil hat off. But I think Tesla has a lot of those features. They're just dripping them out because if they put them all up at once, people won't upgrade their cars, and they're keeping a marginal advantage over the other auto manufacturers. I think it's exactly what Steve Jobs did with the iPhone. Keep everything in reserve and release one new feature each year.
Or how about this? Like, if you hit somebody while it's auto driving, I don't know, like hit somebody or a kid or something, you get a coupon from Tesla where like they take a little bit off of your legal bills, right? Because you're not liable. So yeah, this is the future, guys.
Only in your dreams, bro.
I mean, yeah, that's not gonna happen.
And I like how you assumed legal bills because.
On a different topic though, the earthquakes in Syria and Turkey, that has to lead to some kind of construction companies going up at some point. Am I correct to assume that?
No, because they're all owned by the oligarchs. They don't get in trouble.
No, I don't think he's saying getting in trouble. I'm saying now they have to rebuild, so they're going to be busier. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I'm thinking construction materials like steel manufacturers, cement, concrete, these kind of people, these kind of companies.
I don't know of any personally that do work in that area of Turkey or Syria. Do you know of any, or are you just thinking about a general?
No, I'm just saying if anybody knows anything, because I was thinking about like finding a company that might be related to this whole thing. Like someone has to start rebuilding. That means materials has to be bought from the company or something like that. So maybe just looking at steel manufacturing companies, if anybody knows any kind of place.
A lot of it would probably come from China.
That's all going to be on the Hang Seng market.
Hey, real quick, those adaptive headlights, they're called matrix headlights, and they were just, the federal regulations were changed in February of last year, and the NHTSA, they're still trying to work out like testing for it. So yeah, it is currently going on in Europe, but for whatever reason, the US is way behind. So
yeah, I mean,
it's coming, but it's going to be a while.
That's normal.
The U.S. is due for an update, though. If you look at OBD1, that came out in like 1985, 88, something like that. OBD2 came out in 1996. And OBD2 was one of the last major government regulations applied to every single car sold in the United States. So, I mean, 1996 to now, it's about time for them to come out with OBD3.
Seriously? So tell people what that is or where that is so they know if you don't have that.
So it's the diagnostic standard for the car. So meaning that every single car sold in the United States has to have the same plug, the same coding, the same diagnostic capabilities, where a P0430 means the same thing in your car that it does in the other car. And it allows, fair repair networks for the vehicles, and it creates an emissions standard for pollution. So, amongst a lot of other things. But the last time it was changed was 1996. Like it's they're due for an overhaul.
So I used my OBD2 port to chip my BMW that I raced. So that was easy. Do the little reset there. Takes the rev limiter off. Oh, that car was fun.
Hey, so yeah, I posted some information about the vehicle-to-vehicle communication from the Department of Transportation. So that stuff will be coming down the pipe too. We'll probably get to Europe before here, but
When they said that, yeah, I mean, Europe almost always seems to regulate before we do. So that's just kind of standard in automotive technology, right?
Yeah. So overall, expect all that technology in the cars to be mandated from the top down as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to depend on the leadership. Who's the president? Who's in the office? What's their agenda? Blah blah blah. Do they need to distract the Roman mob with something new and shiny other than balloons and hectagons and octagons? On an actual investment play, I've got some February 17th $11 calls for QS QuantumScape, just because I feel like they're going to hype themselves up. Some of the stuff I've read, they're kind of like a Nikola, if you will, to me. They have a really cool technology idea, not a ton to back it up, but I feel like they're gonna try to hype themselves up on this earnings.
I did hear a few years ago the OBD3 coming out, and if it does, with the, I guess, the connectivity available, if your car does have a check engine light and you just don't get it fixed, like the rumors were, and like I said, this was years ago, that your car would just shut off and you wouldn't be able to drive it. But I see that happening. Yeah, of course. I don't know how that all would work, but that was an interesting concept about OBD3, that it would report back to a manufacturer and be like, hey, this check engine light's on, and just kill it. So keep that in mind.
I had a car that did something similar. It didn't totally shut it off. It put it into what they call limp mode. So you were limited to first and second gear, and I think 15 miles an hour, but they really said don't go faster than 5.
Yeah, I mean, but that's just part of the programming. So that's just based off the coding inside the ECU.
Yeah, I mean, you could overwrite it. I think if we're talking about sensors, there could be a play for rail car sensors, with that train derailment and the previous plans that got shut down to put sensors both on the tracks and on the cars.
Do you have a company, or does Rail do that? I know someone mentioned that the other day here.
I would need to look into it. I'm sure it's probably a specialized company. I'm not sure on the exact brand of sensors and limit switches.
So what
I'd have
else?
to look into it.
And in regards to the train and both the OBD3 port and any other new technology that needs to be approved or mandated through the government, we've talked about this on the marijuana play. We are in a stuck government right now. They're not doing much with the Republican controlled, not Senate, the House, and slimly controlled other one. Plus, they're not going to do anything. So any grand gesture or any grand move in almost any of these industries is kind of moot, at least for the next at least the next 2 to 3 years, in my opinion, at least. So,
I mean, yeah, I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, you're gonna need the catalyst is probably gonna be somebody dying. It's gonna be some famous or sad story, like a Princess Diana kind of thing. Like somebody dies, then it's gonna be a big problem.
What do you guys think on Silvergate Capital for a potential short squeeze? They have a 70% short float, and Ken Griffin just announced a 5% stake in it. And then I'm also reading that George Soros has shares. Just BlackRock, everyone has shares in it.
What's going to cause a squeeze?
From what I'm reading, the institutional investors are buying them up, and then with crypto booming, that bank is heavily into crypto, which should raise its price up. I think that with a high short float like that, I think the shorts are going to get whacked.
So MOAS tomorrow.
So I'll say this: there's still ties to FTX, and I know they've said, "Oh, we only lost X amount." We don't know that yet. That's going to take years and years and years. Also, this just came out when we were on the call. SEC chair proposes rule that would change which crypto firms can custody customer assets. Not a direct play on Silvergate, but not everyone always sees further oversight by the SEC as a good thing. To me, it's a no touch. It's very volatile, and it has been the last month. Good luck.
Ape is up 4%. We are now under 1 month to that Ape AMC vote, which is Tre Importante. And so, yeah, if anyone wants to play that, you're running out of time to actually position yourself for that vote.
Anybody got, sorry.
Question
Anyone got insights on Shopify because their earnings are tomorrow?
Not sure. We can come back to that. What was the other thing someone wanted to say?
I had a question about 401ks. So I know a lot of big companies make profit sharing contributions on like February 15th today. And also you got people getting their tax returns. If you look back at the market for the last 5, 6, 10, whatever years, does the end of February, early March usually do better because people are getting tax returns and doing stuff with it like investing, or no?
I have no idea. I personally don't believe in a lot of the like tax loss selling at the end of the year and stuff like that. But because I think that big institutions would have figured that out and then balanced it out. But
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it would be hard to quantify. As someone who worked at a broker dealer, it was definitely busy from February to April. It was called IRA season, so it was busier. So I can say that anecdotally, but what it really adds to the bottom line, like from a seasonal pattern, I don't think you could extrapolate that. Or if you want to bet on one of the brokers doing better this quarter because of activity, you could do something like that.
yeah, I'm not sure. Does that answer your question? We could go back to the Shopify thing.
Yeah, they've got earnings. It's today after market, just so you know, whoever brought that up.
Oh, it's today? I thought they said tomorrow. Important distinction.
Sorry, I said tomorrow. My mistake.
No worries. Are you bullish on them?
The answer seems to be a solid maybe.
Sorry, I'm just at work. Something just came up. Give me 1 second.
I've definitely noticed a lot more Shopify commercials on TV. I never really noticed them before, but I'm definitely seeing them.
I'll say they have a similar business model to Wish, and Wish is booming.
Who said Wish is booming? Did Trump?
Couldn't get over to my phone. No.
25% last month.
Yeah, I'm not bullish on it. I'm just bag holding. I'm still down like 18K on it.
So you're just hoping they're going to have good earnings so you can get out.
Well, I'm not gonna get out. I'm just hoping they have decent earnings, like finally start turning it around.
I hope it rockets for you. Continuing on with the important companies for the market. Let's see. Carvana's up 11%. So it's always good to see the true reflections of the market not being held down by the, evil market focal who do the things to stop these real companies.
I don't know about you guys, but I always like to listen to like Rage Against the Machine, Public Enemy, stuff like that. Get me riled up so I can fight the man before I start making money in the market.
See, the goal is you fight the man until you get really, really rich so that you can become the man, and then you be the better man, and that's how you fix the system. So, very
Actually,
big brain.
I thought it was you got to hold on to it so you can stay the man. I think that's part of it too.
Oh, also, don't forget to join the Wall Street Bets Discord. It's very important. You can always DRS your Discord joining. It's very important. Make sure you do that when you have an opportunity. Thank you.
Company man, issue him some shares, opinion, man.
Oh, it's I get paid. I'm a full-on hedgy shill, paid in upvotes. I'm a connoisseur of the upvote collecting variety. So, and I DRS all my upvotes, so you can't take them and lend out my upvotes on Reddit. Just wait until they turn karma into a currency. I'm gonna own it all. I'll own the float.
Do you get paid in Doge? Everyone, give him the Doge emoji. You get paid in that Doge bonus.
Doge boner.
What? That's gonna be a nice quarterly statement. Get your bonus. It's a little weird. I think. Are we getting long in the tooth here, opinion?
What was that? Are we getting long in the tooth? Is that what you said?
Yeah, like it is the call getting a little old. Old. Sorry, I speak. You can tell I worked around sales too long. I speak in phrases.
No, I think you're right. Numbers are dwindling down. Topics are going for a little too long. So I guess it's time to thank everyone for coming out, hanging out with us, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Has opinion, and you can end the call. That's fine. But has there ever been a moment where someone's been like, "Opinion, do you think we should end the call?" That you've ever been like, "No, let's keep going. This is good. We should be here more."
Let's keep going.
No, it's over.
No, we have to free opinion. If he stays here for too long, eventually his boss will wander in and wonder why he hasn't done any work all day. It's very bad.
No, I've definitely hijacked. Not for long, but I just did. I'll hijack for at least a comment or two. And then he kicks me out.
Hey, look, I haven't showed GameStop or FUD footed GameStop once it's closed, so I think I'm behind on my metrics.
Remember, every time you DRS a share, an angel gets its wings. It's very important. Keep it up, folks.
All right. Well, with that said, we'll see you all tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.